Hey there guys, this is Obsidian Chill. Got another video for you today. Sorry it's been so long. I intended to come out with some previous videos and just kind of never got the drive to do them, I guess. I did actually have another video planned, and oh boy, it would have been fucking great. It would have been the roast of all roasts, way better than my other one, but I'm not allowed to make it now. If you want to ask why I'm not allowed to make it, you have to message Free to Kill on the USPS server. That is capital FREE, capital TO, capital KILL. Send him a telling game saying why can't Obsidian Chill make that video, and see what his responses are. I did have another video that I wanted to make. It was essentially like a review of the DLC of Amazon Fury Part 3, going into what I was talking about. What I liked, what I didn't like, what they did right, what the devs did wrong. It's kind of delayed from the fact now that it's been out for a few weeks, but alas, I still wanted to make it. Just still wanted to touch on a few points with it. So we'll kind of get into that now. Before we get into the actual content of Amazon Fury Part 3, we'll kind of get the elephant in the room out of the way. What was players that we didn't know from test? We kind of had some assumptions to make that time capsules were going to come up with the new DLC because that made sense. The last DLC had these time capsules. Now they transitioned to new ones, but no one knew about them. I don't know if the community roundtable knew about them. We certainly don't know anything about tests, so we couldn't test them. And the big issue was the new gearing system. How it worked was when you had gear that you could auto-attune, it would auto-tune based on your CR. And what we learned was that the Shimtar gear became auto-tiered to basically the Ray Drop gear. So all of a sudden you had these gears that you could buy off the broker or from time capsules that's behind a paywall that you could actually gear up completely without doing any content, which is definitely not. It's similar to what the Batman Crusader gear was, but the Batman Crusader gear, I don't know, what was that, 1 CR 145 or something? Like, yeah, lower CR people could use it to help gear it faster, which I don't necessarily agree with, but they could. But the gear that you buy from a time capsule or unlock from an extra drop like a lockbox shouldn't be the best gear. Like, there was never amazing gear in the lockboxes besides the lockbox rings, but that's just jewelry. It was just a neck and rings that gave different procs. That's fine. It's not like a full set of gear, especially with this game being so oriented around CR right now until stats revamp. But basically, I know people that went on the broker and bought, like, they had tons of money. They just bought 4 or 5 pieces of Shimtar gear. They went to CR 175 to 183 without even running a duo, like a solo, the raid. By the time they actually raided, they were 186 CR just from buying Shimtar gear, because you could buy the waist, equip it, it would auto tune to like CR 160 or 161, obviously not max at 164, and you just keep buying it until your CR was high enough that it attuned to 164. That is the issue. That should never have happened. Even worse, we learned about the Divine Favor. The Shimtar gear gave the Divine Favor feat, which is basically towards earning OP collections. So basically, in the first few days of this DLC, the broker was overflown with all these OP collections, and I'm not sure if that was intended. Well, I'm sure it was intended because they want people to buy them, and once they learn they could buy them, get the feats just from the Divine Favor feats, their time capsule sales probably went through the roof, so they're happy, but it kind of really changed the dynamic of this DLC. Just the one Shimtar gear. If that didn't attune to the highest CR, even if it gave Divine Favor, if it didn't attune to higher CR, then you wouldn't be wearing it. You'd be wearing the blues and greens what's equipped it, so it wouldn't matter for the feat. Or you'd have to be a lower CR to gain the feat. But either way, it made earning elite gear completely redundant because you didn't even need to earn it. Because the whole point of elite gear was to earn Divine Favor, so you could get the OP collections. And now that the Shimtar gear gave elite, you really have no incentive to get the elite gear whatsoever, because it's just a title. It's not actually a feat. It should have been where the feat was for the elite gear and the title was for the normal gear. Because right now, besides those ability mods, which are still really good, but most players aren't going to care about the grind, especially with how big this grind is in this DLC. No one's going to care to get those elite gear. They're just going to get the Fallen God set, get their 3-star feat, and be done with it. And I don't like that they're giving no incentive for that. It's the same. I'll touch into the raids when I touch on that, but the rest of the time capsule gear, like the Phoenix material, is awesome. I'm a huge component of that. I didn't like the cosmic material. I love the Phoenix material. That was a really good job. The pink ore, which I can't remember what it's called. Either way, the amethyst ore or something like that. But the purple ore, you can't even tell that it's even on. If you have any kind of bulky gear, you just see this kind of like pink outline or purple outline, violet outline around you. So it's completely useless. But most of like the mist ores are. You can't really see them at all. The Crown of Hades, I really like as well. You'll see it in this picture or in this background as well. I really like. I wish you could change the color, but I'm not sure. I'm not much of a comic book aficionado, so I don't know if it was always blue in his pictures. But it's no big deal. I wish you could change the color of the light, but the crown itself is a pretty neat style. Besides that, the time capsules dropped a whole bunch of exobytes. I wasn't really expecting that, but I guess that's kind of making up for the new mods. So I'm not going to really, poo on that idea at all. But other than that, the time capsules, what was inside of them, I liked. I just didn't like how the Shimtar gear worked. And besides the fact that the emblems also, you needed so many of these, the unbreakable moots, and so many simple and complex, which it basically it's a simple and complex dump, to get those extra emblems of everything, just to complete a title. I did it all. That the emblems don't really look that much different at all. The nice thing about the Shimtar gear as well is that the back and the back shoulders, they have different positions for the emblems, so that's kind of neat. So the time capsules themselves are a lot better than the other ones. It's just that I didn't like how the Divine Favor and the Shimtar gear worked with the auto tuning. But besides that, it's definitely worth it to get the Amazon time capsules, as well as you get the Zeus trinket. I know that's kind of doing buff damage at the moment. That I don't know if that's going to be intended or not. It's a topic on the forums. But itself, the Zeus trinket itself, the animation is a lot different than the Orbital Strike. While it's a bit annoying to tank or to be in a raid with it because it's so vibrant, it is actually neat skin. So once again, that's worth it to get the time capsules. So we're certainly getting a lot more bang for our buck, rather with the old booster bundles, which were basically a complete ripoff. But touching on actually into the content now, the content itself, it's mixed, or at least that's how I perceive it. The content itself visually is amazing. The visual team on this DLC, Amazon Figure Part 3, everything looks perfect. The duo looks really nice. That Hectate fight, when you look around, and I know you're kind of concentrating on the fight with Hectate, but if you kind of step back and look at that room and look at the surroundings in that room itself, the Hectate room is really nice. The final room where you fight Zeus, even Gami, the stuff on the side, or Gods and Monsters on the side, the raids, they're all really visually appealing and really open some areas. Back when when Gates of Tartarus came out in Prime Battleground, everything's really visually appealing, which is great because it kind of leads to how many times you have to run the raids to get the gear and the OP collections. At least when you're running it, it's not like Paradox where it got really annoying to run after a while because you're just seeing the paradox effects on the side of the tunnels where you're in there hours and hours at a time. So it's much more visually appealing from that aspect. The difficulty of them, I guess I have a biased opinion because I'm wanting it to be really difficult, or at least have one challenging difficult. Like if we're going to get 2 raids, you'd expect one to be harder than the other, and then one where they'd farm. But the raids and the feats, content-wise or difficulty-wise, yeah, it's not there. Olympus, the first boss in Olympus, you can ignore all her mechanics unless you're going for feats. It was never really an issue. Tank stands in the center, tanks the boss, and picks up the ballistas and the other Amazons when they spawn. No big deal. Tank its bank. Hectate, really the only issue was when she went to her full moon phase, and you're all stunned, but it's only an issue because you're all stunned and you can't do anything. Other than that, her fight, it's nothing really mechanic-wise you have to worry about. When she transforms, turn the gear in the center, keep her defense debuff, that's all it is. The final fight with Zeus, in normal at least, super straightforward. They nerfed the balls a lot. They used to hit a lot harder in tests, which, it's a shame. Now you can just kind of stand in them. They hit for like 5k, which is like nothing. You really only die unless like everyone's piled up on each other, so you have like 4 or 5 exploding on at once, and that's it. So the raid takes 10 minutes, so it's great. It's great to farm, but it's not great from a longevity standpoint. Gods and Monsters. The first boss room is interesting. It has some interesting mechanics to it. The mechanics there should be much more emphasis put on them. I like that the fire pools, lava pools move. I like that the center effects with the exhaust ports basically in the center of the room that you can't stand on. I think there should just be more emphasis on that. Right now, if you have one decent healer or even 2 healers, you can just stand in the lava. Really, there's no drawback to it. It's hitting for like a few K. Like Hot's healed more than that. So, but other than that, like you can't approach the anvil, or you got to block, or you get knocked down, stuff like that. So the first boss in Gods and Monsters has a lot of things going for it. I just think they need to be kind of turned up a level, just so that people have to focus on them a bit more. But other than that, like the room itself, once again, is really visually appealing. And imagine like an SM in that room with the center exhaust ports, shooting fire randomly throughout a level. Second fight in Gods and Monsters, that's more, that was what more tripped up a lot of pugs, because it's more of like a tank and healer debuff check. At the beginning when it came out, everyone thought you had to, equip rifles and constantly interrupt the birds. And then it was realized later on that now you can just split the birds apart, the phoenixes, and then just put a heal debuff on the target you want to burn. So it's more like a heal debuff check and a tank check. But at least it's difficult from a tanking, a healing, and you could say controlling aspect. But that's about it. And that the DPS is just kind of straightforward. Like, separate the Minotaurs because he's going to shield the rest. Don't go near the Harpies because her melee AoE is going to wipe you. Watch out for the Gorgons, or she's going to stone you. Like there's enough mechanics there to make it interesting, but it's more like annoying mechanics. It's not like mechanics that like you want to work with. Like Inner Sanctum with the lasers and the Arc Robot in the first boss. Like those are mechanics that were interesting and you wanted to be a part of. They weren't just annoying. But you can't really fault them. There's enough mechanics there to make it a difficult fight and a little bit more challenging to pugs. A lot of pugs trip up on that second boss, or what makes the raid drawn out and longer is that boss fight. Because the final boss fight, there is no mechanics. It's a cakewalk. You can do blindfold. You don't even need a tank, really. Snakes appear out. Snakes hurt you if you stand near the snakes. DPS the ads. And then stand in a line that you have near unlimited time. I don't think there's a timer in normal or elite for that phase. You just keep trying until you get the lightning bolt to hit Typhon. And that's it. You just do it again 3 more times. More ad spawn. Snake spawn. It's more of like kind of like the letdown. Like the first boss, really interesting. Second boss gets more interesting, a little bit more challenging. And then third boss is just like, they're poking a balloon and letting all the air out. Even in Elite, same thing. More ads, more danger, because if you wipe twice, you're gone. That's pretty much it. But even feats-wise, like Darkside War Factory Elite, Prison Break, there's all these no-death feats that you want to, like, you feel that you actually earned the feats when you did them. Like, even Darkside War Factory Elite, like, you wanted to be the first to get the Elite raid out, you wanted to be the first to get Omega and Omega, or the Fire Trails feat, or the Drone feat in Elite, because you did those feats, you actually earned it. Like, it was actually difficult. With these Elite raids, even first day Olympus Elite took like 15-20 minutes. Big deal. Gami took like half an hour, something like that, the first time. And that's it. It's more the second boss tripping up an Elite, because we didn't know exactly how to deal with the Phoenixes at the start. But, now it's common knowledge. But that's where they falter in the Elite aspect of this DLC. There's no incentive to do Elite. Once you get your Renowned up, so you can buy the Elite gear, which is only 7 to 11 raids, I think, something like that, depending on if you buy Renown boosters, which work from the marketplace, which are only like 90 station cash or something like that. But once you get those Elite Renowned, there's no incentive to run Elite anymore to get those feats. And all the feats are the exact same as the normal ones, just in Elite. So it's not like, oh, how do I get this feat? Oh, I just did it again in Elite. They even say the feats. Do it Monster Hatcher Ultimate. Do it the Hecate feat again. The Elixir feat. Everyone take the soda when they're supposed to. There's the feat. Kami, all you have to do is stand in the center. Don't break the eggs. You get the feat automatically. Just don't by standing in the center the whole time. And then Monster Hatcher, just break a bunch of eggs and DPS them. Like, that's all it is. Like, there's all these feats are such a letdown here. There's no death proof. There's no epic odyssey. There's no feat that, like, you want a DLC to last 5 or 6 months. You want to make a feat that's have something people to strive for. Paradox Wave took like a month to beat and took almost 6 months to get epic odyssey. And the feats beat feat in Conduit. So it's, you want to make a DLC last long and have longevity, you need to make at least some part of it hard. Like, not so much the content, like, you don't have to make the raid hard, because then no one's going to run it, you're not going to sell replays, everyone's going to avoid it. But at least have some kind of a feat that gives something players to strive for. And that's what they really missed on here. All the feats are terrible. Like, I know there's tons of them. I guess it's just I guess this DLC was just supposed to be tons of skill points, like just had before with those 4 stars, so that everyone can catch up in skill points for when Stat 3 event comes out and skill points matter. That's how I see it here, which is fine from their perspective, from a dev perspective, but they should at least had 1 or 2 feats that were actually difficult and people could actually feel that they earned. Because that what really gives longevity. Right now, same thing, you log into the game, what do? Search for Olympic, Gods of Olympus, all the normal spam, and do that, 5 or 6 raids, because it takes 25 raids to get the ring, and then 25 raids to get the neck, and then 30 raids, 35 raids to do all the jewelry and everything else. So it's, this is what you do when you log in. You just spam, do your dailies, log in, done. So it's unappealing from that aspect, because you're not doing it because you want to do it and because it's fun. You do it because you have to do it. It's not like you could spawn, like back in the day where you did Prime Battleground or Gates to Tartarus. It was actually fun to run. You wanted to just mess around with it. Now you're stuck doing it because you need to farm, you need to reset to get all these gear pieces and elite pieces and the OP collections for multiple roles, for DPS, for controllers, or tank, or healer, or whatever you are. So that's the aspect they really missed here. They missed the longevity aspect of it. It's more, we're running it because we have to run it, not because we want to run it. That's it, guys. I'm not going to ramble anymore. Overall, I do think this is a great DLC. I do like it. Very visually appealing. The raids are, even though they're not difficult, you can run them without being really annoyed. Like, at least you could run Olympus 10 times and it's not terrible. Or at least, I guess, from a DPS perspective. But I guess if you're healing or controlling, it's going to be super boring. That's a biased point of view that I'm not thinking of for other roles. But at least from a DPS perspective, you could run Olympus a bunch of times and be okay. Everything else is going to be pretty boring. But overall, I like it. Get the time capsules. Just kind of avoid the silliness with the Shimtar gear, but the gear itself, all the styles look great. I'm not a fan of the Fallen God Elite style, but whatever. That's just no Superman style. I thought it'd be more epic. I preferred the Blackest Night style, the Quick Strike style Elite. All those ones are a lot better than Fallen God. But overall, guys, I do like it for Amazon Fury. It's difficulty wise, it's maybe a 3 out of 10. Visually wise, it's a 9 out of 10. Content wise, it's probably I'd say it's a 7 out of 10, because at least the open world content, which you have to run all those 3 missions every day, it's not as monotonous as Gotham Wastelands, where it was really tedious and just really annoying to run Gotham Wastelands. So at least the open world content is pretty decent as well. So overall, I like the DLC. I wish the feats were a lot harder. I wish the elite raids were a lot harder. I wish there was some incentive to run Elite, or some incentive for players to actually run Elite, because right now it's just Olympus normal spam. That's all you're going to find. Take care, guys.